Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, June 21st, 2020, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Senate election. So I've been making election content between Joe Biden and Donald Trump for quite some time now, and yes, I do dabble into the Senate, but today I'm going to be doing an updated polling analysis of the 2020 Senate elections, because they do show a lot more Democrats winning the United States Senate in terms of their seats compared to what we might expect on Election Day. Now, I don't necessarily agree that these polls are going to be 100% accurate. We are very far away, and some primaries haven't even occurred. For the presidential election, however, typically general election candidates perform how they are now during the general election. So, yes, I would necessarily say the Senate does have some shaping up to do, considering the fact that many primaries have yet to occur. But once those are all pretty much finalized, I will start trusting these polls and Senate races a lot more, heavily. They were mildly accurate back in 2018, actually pretty accurate, with the exception of just a couple of Senate seats. Now, obviously, polling data isn't going to always be perfect, but in 2016, it was pretty much right in terms of the popular vote, almost spot on. And in terms of statewide races, it was only wrong fundamentally in 3 states. 4 states, because one state was expected to go to Donald Trump based off polling data. State of Nevada always overestimates Republicans in polling data, but Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania were the only states that were expected to go to Hillary by polling data that Donald Trump won. That's it. She wasn't expected to carry Florida or North Carolina or Iowa or Ohio. She was behind in a number of states, only expected to have a narrow victory on Election Day. Well, that's besides the point. Let's go ahead and take a look at this map. So I'm using the rprogress.org/Senate. They pretty much compile all the polls that have been taken in each individual state. And they do have to go ahead and choose which nominee they think is going to be there. For example, in Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, or if you go over to Georgia in the special election, they have Doug Collins. So obviously they have to choose which Republican or Democratic nominee they truly believe will win the eventual primary, and then use the polling data given for those. So some of these states don't have any data. If you take a look at the, primary information, I'm surprised they choose Joe Kennedy. Let's go ahead and see. So pretty much no polling data in a number of these solid Democratic states. I'm going to actually be using this map because I don't think that it accurately reflects the actual margins based off this map. They use, a 2-point lead, and it makes it look, comparable to some other states. So we're just going to go ahead and just fill in all of the safe states, and then we'll actually do this on our own to make it just a little bit easier to understand. So we know how some of these states are going to go. Virginia does not have any data, and it doesn't really need it. New Mexico is going to go to the Democratic Party without a doubt. Oregon, Illinois. I think that's it in terms of safe states. Let's go ahead and hit the safe Republican states. States such as Nebraska and South Dakota and Wyoming and Idaho, along with Oklahoma, which has some interesting dynamic, I guess you could say. That is the infamous snowball senator, but that's besides the point. Arkansas, solid. Louisiana, solid. Tennessee, solid. So we actually can just go ahead and characterize those in, not Montana. We need to talk about that one. Let's go ahead and just fill it in. You notice Kansas is not automatically filled in, which it used to be in the past. Again, things have changed. So Tennessee, West Virginia as well. South Carolina does have some data, so we do have to plot that one as well. Mississippi, Alabama. I think that's it in terms of, I think Mississippi, yeah, that's only 8%. So I think that's it in terms of safe Republican states. I'm hoping I'm not missing one. If I do, I'll probably go ahead and fix it. But as for that means that we have a total of 18 toss-up races to go ahead and characterize. As you can see across this entire southern area, it's not filled in. And that's not to say that all of a sudden the South is turning more Democratic, but they probably will vote to the left of where they did in 2016. And also, they have some interesting Senate races in North Carolina, South Carolina. Alabama has a Democrat incumbent. There's 2 Senate races up in Georgia. And Mississippi was close in the special election, an 8-point margin of victory for the Republican. So when we take a look at this map, the Republicans are at 39. The Democrats are at 43. There are 18 seats that ultimately will change the balance of power. Looking at these polling data, you already know how the result's going to be. You know it's going to be 54 to 46, but I think plotting on here makes it a lot easier to take a look at. And I'm actually going to go ahead and probably put this on the Instagram. So if you haven't followed the Instagram for the account, it's Let's Talk Elec. It'll be at the end as well. Actually, I don't think it will be, but you can go ahead and check that one out as well. I think it'll be I mean, I do have daily polls and Q&As. I just started using it a couple of days ago, but I'll be pretty active on it, so I'm probably going to update this map so people know to watch the video once it's released. So I'll do that then. But besides, let's go ahead and take a look at the likely states. They do have some states that are more confidently filled in. States such as Michigan, which show an 8-point lead for incumbent Senator Gary Peters. We see Minnesota, which actually has no data, so I'm actually going to characterize that one as safe Democrat. That's the incumbent seat, and I don't want to go ahead and just speculate, even though I know it's going to go to the Democratic Party. Hickenlooper leads by 13%. I don't really personally care if Romanoff or Hickenlooper wins the primary. It has no personal impact on me. But I will say that I do think Hickenlooper is still going to be on top right now. Yes, Romanoff may be, in some people's point of view, a stronger candidate, but a lot of people also believe that Hickenlooper would be stronger. Despite his recent scandals, Cory Gardner is going down regardless. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a likely Democratic characterization if it's Romanoff or if it's Hickenlooper. Just Hickenlooper has more name recognition, but still a Democratic state at heart. Arizona, that's actually a pretty astonishing lead, 8 points statewide. Again, that's running up the comparison to Joe Biden's margin. So very good standpoint for the Democratic Party. They have 2 pickups already, Colorado and Arizona, pretty much solidifying the southwestern region of the United States. So let's go ahead and look at some of the likely Republican states. That includes states such as Mississippi, and coincidentally, it also has an 8-point margin, the same margin from the 2018 special election. That Mike Espy and Cindy Hyde-Smith faced off against each other, and it was a mere 8% in a very solid Republican state. And now he's facing against her again in the general election. So Mississippi, 8-point margin for the Democratic Party. Let's go ahead and see. Alabama is around a 7-point margin, so we actually have to characterize that one as likely as well. That is the first pickup for the GOP. In the state of Kentucky, that's actually a pretty solid margin. Unfortunately for Mitch McConnell, number one, he's probably going to end up facing... I'm actually not sure who's going to win that primary. Amy McGrath obviously is the clear favorite right now just because of the fact that she has a lot more name recognition, a lot more fundraising, but a lot of endorsements have come in recently for a primary opponent. So that's a 14-point margin. It's probably going to be safe as we get through Election Day if it does end up holding with those number of undecided voters, because they're 16% undecided. A lot of them are going to break for the Republican Party because it is Kentucky. So Kentucky goes in the likely Republican column. Let's go ahead and see some other states. Again, we have some, actually, I guess, good data for the Democratic Party taking a look at some of these races. South Carolina is only a lean characterization. I really didn't want to do that one yet just because of the fact that I'm not going to do that one. I'll go back to it. The state of New Hampshire is a 9-point margin, which is enough to make it likely, but that puts the Democrats one ahead of where they were prior to 2020. So in 2018, the Republican Party gained a net 2 seats, enough to give them a 53 to 47 majority. The Democratic Party wasn't able to pick up that many seats. I believe they only picked up the state of Arizona and I believe the state of Nevada, whereas the Republican Party picked up Indiana, Florida, North Dakota, Missouri. I believe that's it. I'm pretty sure. Oh, Florida. So that means the Democratic Party must have had to. Whatever. That was an election 2 years ago. A lot of things feel like 2 years ago, and it was just a month ago. So that's besides the point. Democrats get 48 seats. Republicans get 42. Let's go ahead and fill in some more red seats. States such as Texas have an 8-point margin for the incumbent John Cornyn. He's probably going to win re-election realistically. As for some other states, as we go over to Alaska, only a 2-point margin. So 2-point margin in both South Carolina and Alaska. Again, not a good look whatsoever for the Republican Party. If they're going to have to start sending funds to save Republican seats with Lindsey Graham, a very well-known senator nationwide, and Alaska, which is not necessarily, I wouldn't say Dan Sullivan is too well-known, but it is important to note that he is a Republican senator from Alaska, a very solid Republican state. If they're going to have to start focusing attention on states such as Alaska and South Carolina, they're going to lose in states such as Arizona and Colorado without a doubt. They're going to have to give up contention in states such as Michigan and New Hampshire and Virginia. So when you take a look at that, the reason why these polls, if they are close in these states, the Republican Party is going to start to try to push some more attention onto the race and get a lot more fundraising done. So the Republicans are at 45 right now. I'm not sure where the remaining seat comes from. I'm assuming it comes from the Georgia special election, considering that they don't have a toss-up seat, but I can't characterize it if the polling data shows an exact tie in the runoff race. So I actually can't characterize it. I guess we can go ahead and choose us up. Go ahead and add that in. So toss-up goes Georgia overall election, and then the Republican Party, I believe, narrowly leads in the... Oh, no, John Ossoff leads very narrowly in the special election. So let's go ahead and put that one in the lean Democratic column, putting them at 49, the Republicans at 45, and the of course, I guess you could say. Not independent. Toss-up is at 1, obviously. So I'm surprised there isn't any more data that they've compiled from that race, but I don't know why they would have automatically given it to the Republican Party, because you can't if it's an exact tie. But let's go ahead and take a look at Montana. That one has a 1-point lead for incumbent Governor Steve Bullock. So that also is a very narrow race, but expected victory for the Democratic Party based off the data we have. In Iowa, a 2-point lead for Teresa Greenfield over Joni Ernst. I think it will be difficult for her to do that, but nothing's out of the race yet. In the state of Kansas, Barbara Bollier, if she faces Chris Kobach, has a very real Republican opponent that could lose the Kansas Senate race by 2% based off this data, which is the exact reason why the Kansas GOP is trying to derail Chris Kobach as the eventual GOP nominee, but he's still the front runner. Cal Cunningham leads Tom Tillis by 3% in the state of North Carolina, and in the state of Maine, Sarah Gideon has a 6-point lead, enough to make it likely for the Democratic Party in Maine. Now, this is by no means my prediction. This is just the polling data from the ourprogress.org map. I'll put the link in the description below, but if you go ahead and take a look at it, it is a pretty commanding lead for the Democratic Party nationwide. So while the Democrats may have 54 to 45 to 1, this will probably not be the election result. It'll just be, which is very interesting that the data is at this point. And it also goes to show that the Republican Party is at a very low point, not only in the presidential election or the House elections, but also in the Senate elections. And if they don't turn this around sometime soon, if it does continue at this trend, this actually could end up being the map. If they nominate the wrong person in Kansas and they start focusing attention on states such as South Carolina and Alaska, and they lose focus on other states, get too confident in North Carolina and Iowa, we could possibly see this map. And that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. On your screen, you should see a next video, which is a video tailored towards you, and a playlist, which I'll probably put whatever playlist I decide to do, because I've been usually doing election nights, but I'm probably not going to do that. You can subscribe if you haven't already on the left. Please make sure you go ahead and check out the Twitter LT Elections and the Instagram Let's Talk Elect. Please consider joining as a member on my channel. And again, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all later today.